Okay, everyone. I'd like to talk a little bit about how web designers might use Photoshop. And one of the main features in Photoshop that's specifically designed for web designers is under the File menu, and it's a Save for Web setting. Okay, so if you say File, Save for Web, it sort of launches this little built-in piece of software that allows you to optimize your graphics for a web page. Because the web is a little bit different than other types of media, there's really only 3 different types of graphics you can use on a web page that are bitmap graphics. One of them is a GIF, one of them is a JPEG, and the other one is a PNG. As you can see under these menu, these are these 3 choices. Essentially, these graphics are used for different sorts of things. So a GIF is a graphic that's used for sort of basic let's say line art or graphics that have solid blocks of color. These are great for GIFs. Also, GIFs have the ability to do transparency and also have the ability to do basic animations, which we'll be looking at in terms of cinemagraph shortly. And we already looked at animations a little bit in our last week lessons. So what this Save for Web is all about, it's all about really learning to compress your graphics in such a way where you have the smallest possible file size with the largest possible quality. And negotiating and balancing those 2 things can be quite challenging. Another type of graphic for the web is the JPEG. A JPEG is great for photographs that you're putting on a web. It's great at compressing gradients of color from light to dark, from dark to light. It's great at reproducing them in a small file size. And then you have a PNG, which is sort of a combination of both of them. It can support transparency, whereas a JPEG cannot. And it also is great for doing things that have kind of qualities of both a GIF and a JPEG. So if you have a lot of solid blocks of color, yet you have a lot of gradients, PNG would be a great format for this. Now, if we look at this, you'll see that the way this is actually designed is it's designed to look at this in different views. So you'll see here, up here, you have a series of tabs that allow you to look at this in a series of views. Right, so what you can do is this one is the original graphic at 1.5 meg, whereas if we make this into a PNG, right here, you'll see it'll be 31K or 319K. If I went down here and converted this one, let's say, to a JPEG, that would be 105K. If I went right here and converted that to a GIF, that would be 321K. So you can see by the nature of the graphic, the JPEG compression in this case is the best possible scenario because it's compressing it down to 105K and very minimal quality loss if you compare these. Now, each of these settings also has a series of different settings that you can use. So there's a series of predefined settings here. As I go down, you'll see that's medium. So I just trimmed off like 15K off that. Okay, I also, if I go low, low is starting to get a little blurry, so I may not want to go there. But you'll also notice that these predefined settings are a certain quality setting, which you can also slide and really tweak it as much as you want. Okay. The GIF setting allows you to actually pick out colors to make the file size smaller. So here's the GIF. So you'll see a GIF is a very limiting format. It's one of the first file formats for the web available. And you'll see it only allows you to do 256 colors. So if I drop that down to 16, you'll see the quality suffers greatly, but the file size comes down drastically. Okay, and that's because as you are creating web graphics, you're going to start to realize that essentially the graphic dictates what file type it should be. So clearly, right now, you'll see if I go here and I convert this to a JPEG, JPEG's small, look at that, 56K, right? And that didn't really affect the quality. I'm looking at the original, not at all, okay? So that's the kind of thing that graphic designers would use Photoshop for. When you use this palette, once you come to terms with what your setting is, and you say save, it also allows you to generate, if you go right here under format, you can make it write HTML, which is essentially the main format for creating web pages, the main language, for creating web pages. So Photoshop allows you to compress your graphics effectively using this save for web functionality, but it also allows you to do things like create a starting HTML file, which you can bring into a HTML editor, such as there's a lot of them out there, Brackets or Dreamweaver, or depending on what you're doing, and essentially start making that into a web page. So you'll have a grounding point for HTML if you wanted to actually use it that way. Okay? Yeah, so there you go. Thank you.